Well, hello everybody. The next chapter, the next episode in Happy Buyer, Happy Seller, a podcast that we've been running for a few weeks now, and they'll be appearing various places shortly. Delighted to be able to welcome Peter Scheckenhofer to today's podcast. And I know I've known Peter for somewhat over about 5.5 years
Going
now.
on 6.
Yeah, going on 6. Yeah, we're here. And we came together when Peter inquired about a business I had for sale, and subsequently Peter and his partner purchased the business. So we'll talk about some pretty important aspects of purchasing a business. But beforehand, I'd like Peter, if you would, just to give us a little rundown, a little background on yourself, if you would, please.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Shaun. It's a pleasure being here. Background on me is I grew up born and raised in Germany, and I worked for BMW. I was a car dealer over there, and I left in 2005 to move to the States. Ended up in Southwest Florida in the Naples-Fort Myers area. Worked for a local community bank there for a little while. And then my father, who was already retired, he had the wonderful idea of, instead of playing golf, he bought a rusty Ford Ranger truck and acquired 40 residential swimming pool accounts because he thought it would be fun in cleaning these. And 40 turned into 60 because everybody loved them, and 60 became 80. I'm like, you can't do this. Either we go all in or we're out. And then we became one of the largest pool companies in Southwest Florida. And we kept it for up until 2017. And then I opened a hair salon for my wife in Bonita, which was very successful as well. And I wanted to go back into my old industry, which was car dealers. And I looked at several stores, and neither of them caught my eye. And then luckily for both of us, I stumbled across a listing that you had, which is here in Central Florida. And it was one of the best decisions we've ever made. So
no, that's marvelous. I don't think I realized that you or your father had bought that quite a small with because we sell routes, that's the thing, we sell routes. And but then I knew that you had grown it pretty big.
I left out the part where I fell into the swimming pool multiple times because I had no idea what I was doing. Good morning.
Yeah, that's good. We met. I remember exactly where and when we met, when you guys came up in Panera.
At the Loop.
At the Loop, exactly. And
when you told me we meet at the Loop, I was like, where? Because I had no idea what that was.
Because that was June.
It was
of 2020.
Yeah, right in the pandemic.
In the the beginning of and when things were just clamping down everywhere. So I remember sitting there thinking, where are we? Should we be here? Whatever. But all it obviously worked out very well. Purchasing a business and the move, what sort of lay behind you doing that? And I mean, there's lots to talk about the business itself, but you decided that you wanted to get back into your own business ownership, I guess.
Correct. So the hair salon was not really for me. It was more like I built it, I grew it, but my heart wasn't in it. It was more like an adventure to prove to myself, what I've learned from owning my first business, which was the pool company. I can duplicate anywhere. Once you have the roadmap set up, it's rinse and repeat. You just keep going. But my heart wasn't in it. It was not an industry I wanted to be in. I wanted to be back either in manufacturing or preferably car dealerships. But they're hard to come by. And when I reached out to your brokerage firm and I said, I'm looking for something that has potential the previous owner took it from A to B and he was happy there, but there is lots of potential, so you can grow it. It has long-standing, I don't want to call it heritage, but at least a long establishment in the community. And and you had the one that we ended up buying, and it was just perfect. It was just perfect timing, perfect everything, and yeah, worked out great.
Because the owner of the business, John, has been on the show a few weeks ago.
Nice. Can't wait to hear that one.
Yes, it's interesting. So it's from both sides. It's great to hear the story from both sides. He'd owned that business 42 years.
He did,
and he'd started it in his own, his back bedroom, as he says.
Yeah, that's right.
Then you took on a very well established business, as you say, and it was, the employees and the product and the reputation.
Oh, yeah.
And we could demonstrate the finances, of course, which I felt it was a sort of marriage made in heaven, quite frankly, when you guys were interested.
It was. I had no idea, because obviously after you and I met, and you said, next step is you should meet with the seller. And when we drove back up here and we met at the company.
Yes.
And I didn't know that John had previously interviewed other potential buyers, but dismissed them within like 20, 30 minutes. That was gone. And our conversation lasted, I think, 3-4 hours.
It did.
And I remember we were walking down to the production, and you tapped me on my shoulder, and it was like, "This is going well." I'm like, "What the heck is he talking about? What's going well?" But I didn't know the background, obviously.
Yeah.
And then we met at Susan's Cafe in Kissimmee the next day.
Oh my goodness, yes.
And John is like, "So you really want to move here?" And I said, "I have a realtor on standby. I'll move tomorrow. I'm packed and ready to go, and I want the business." And I never forget. He just looked at me for like two seconds. Felt like 2 minutes for me, but it was stuck out his hand. It was like, "Okay, let's do it."
Yeah, and it came together very, very well. I'd just like to pick up on that point about your move. And let me just say that, obviously in our business we get approached by all kinds of people who are wanting to buy a business or think they want to buy a business. And there are many reasons why it doesn't go ahead. But one of the things is, if somebody lives somewhere away from where the business is located, it is very. It's very. Let me just sort of think about what I'm going to say here. I think they have to demonstrate that they really are ready to move. I think that's the big thing for me. What do you mean by you're thinking of moving? Where are you thinking of moving? Were you thinking of moving here and then buying a business, or were you thinking of buying a business where the appropriate business is located? And quite frankly, most people don't. Most people say that they're going to, and they don't, unless there's some extraneous reason, like their wife's got to transfer as well, or something like that.
I think that was one of the reasons why a potential previous seller for John's business, or for the business we bought, did not come together, because the wife did not move, and that was a red flag for John. And I believe that it depends on the size of business you're buying. I mean, if you're buying a 300 employee enterprise, then yes, you can probably run this from anywhere, because you're actually not buying the business, you're buying the shares, and it's already established. There's a CEO, there is a managing partner or a manager there, maybe with some sweat equity. But if you were going into a small business, to me, if you're not, first of all, if you're not on site, you have no control or idea where your money is going.
Absolutely.
And secondly, it's a huge red flag for the employees, because they feel like, well, that guy's not in it. It's just an investment. So in 3 years, we have another owner. In 3 more years, we have another new owner.
That's a good point.
So it's just not going to work out. So I always felt that if you want to be self-employed, you're employing yourself, and you have to be the quote marks shitty boss that tells you, "No, you're moving there, you go there, and you run this place for me."
Yeah,
because if you don't,
yeah,
it might not work.
Absentee ownership does happen. It does exist, absolutely. But I think your point being, get in there, make it work, understand the business, and then if you want to absentee, then okay, after a period of time, a period of years, you might be able to do it.
Some people refer also to absentee. They're adding on. They already have a landscape business, and they bought by another one. To me, that's not absentee. That's like branching out. You're integrating something. Okay. But if you start from scratch, whether it's your first business or the first business in this industry, you have to be on site for various reasons, but the multitude to me is employee retention and showing them that you're actually interested in running.
Yeah, speaking about that, given that you'd owned businesses previously, particularly with employees,
Like a herd
particularly
of
with
sheep.
employees,
Oh, yeah.
and they were, and really, in reality, a pool business is very different to a manufacturing business.
Completely.
So, how did that help you? When you were purchasing the business.
Maybe it's because, I came from automotive retail, and automotive retail is like this own little bubble that you live in. Anything's possible. Money is not a problem. Whatever it is, it works out. So when you go from that to a pool company where employees just don't show up, and then you have to clean and sit in the dirty truck that they dirtied up the day before and forgot to clean because they already knew they were not going to show up the next day. So it sets you up for a different approach on what you feel is actually necessary to run a business. And I've learned that if you're in it 100% and you have your network set up, if you have a good business broker, a good accountant, and a good lawyer, and you really want to make this work, because you work before the employees start to work and you still work when they go home. If you're willing to put that effort in, it'll pay off greatly, and not just money-wise, but also because something's growing, and it sets you up for this mindset. You can learn anything if you really want to. You just have to give it time, and you really have to put your all in it. Because I knew nothing about overhead cranes, but I'm like, I know how business works, and I can learn it, and I don't mind learning it. And now I don't want to say I know everything, but I know enough, more than enough, to be successful.
And by the way, we haven't actually stated the name of the business.
That's right. It's J. Herbert Corporation. It's the best overhead crane company in Florida you can get. Okay, well, maybe that's a little early, but in our minds it is.
Absolutely. Quality, performance, etc., etc.
Yeah, we're unique, and that was one thing that drew me to the business. It was a one-stop shop. So John set it up that you design, engineer, fabricate, erect the crane, and service it. So you have no subs. And that was one thing that I've always did not like with the pool company, because you can't do everything. So you need subcontractors. And sometimes that works if you have good ones, but it takes a while to establish this. But if you talk about a couple $1,000 investment into a swimming pool, equipment setup, versus a couple $100,000 for an overhead crane, there is a huge difference. So if things go wrong and I lose $5,000, yeah, that hurts. But if I lose 50, yeah, that's something that nobody wants to go through.
Yeah, as you know, my own background is in engineering and manufacturing, and in the heavy industry, the steel industry, those chaps in the steel industry. And I felt when I met John for the first time, that one of the big advantages there, one of the attractions of that business, was the install as well. The full, we do the whole thing. When he told me that, I thought, ooh, here we go. This is good stuff. In control of all elements of the business.
I can safely say that we're definitely the only company in Florida that goes full circle.
Right.
So all the other ones, they have a selling branch and a manufacturing. There is one in Lakeland that similar does it to us, but still not to the detail that we do. And I don't mean this in a negative way, but it attracted me as a detail-oriented person because I like the fact that it made sense from start to finish. And that was a great example. So
you looked at some other businesses as well, and then knocked them off. Well, as you know, I'll say this. As you know, I like to package the whole thing, and then put it in front of people.
It was perfect.
The financials, of course, are very, very important. Yeah. And my big thing is no surprises. I say hammer this in, just no surprises. Because your buyer will walk if you do that.
We evaluated a lot of businesses, especially car dealerships, and some of them actually tried to give us financials from a sister store. And that brings me back to the first remark that I made a little while ago. You need a good accountant, because certain things, as a buyer, you look at the listing, you look at the business, and you're like, this is what I want.
Right.
And I need to act fast, because otherwise somebody else will take it from me.
So
you get this peer pressure that you build on your own. And the accountant that we used, when I gave her your package, she's like, what do you need me for? It's right here. Because that spreadsheet that you had, that was phenomenal, because it highlighted, and it matched the financials, but it also highlighted, obviously, the add backs from depreciation, amortization, what the owners are taking out, when they're taking it out. So it was all there. And that made the due diligence a breeze. I think that's why we were able to close in the time that we actually ended up closing, because it was a slam dunk. It was perfect.
Yeah, it went well. I was delighted. So here's a little thing. I always say to buyers, now look, you buy the business, right? What you do is you go in, you tell the employees what's happened, and they all, whatever. But I always say, don't make any major, don't try and not changes, but don't make any major changes in the first 6 months. How did you, when you took over the business, what did you find that you needed to do? And if indeed you did need to make any
So
change?
You mentioned my business partner, which is a silent partner. And he's not that silent at times. And to me, my personal goal was, first of all, I believe in don't break something that doesn't require, don't fix something that's not broken, but also don't try to break something that is only slightly broken just to see how far you can push it. Because the devil you have, but you might not like the devil that you get.
Gotcha.
And for me, the first 6 months, the transition was way more elaborate than any other business, but that was partially because the projects that we do, they prolong for a good amount of time. So John had projects that he was working on that we ended up finishing it, but there was a lot of back and forth.
Right.
And that slowed me down in the first 6 months, because I was so focused on trying to get all this taken care of. But on a standard rule of thumb, I think the first 6 months to a year, whoever buys any business, my advice is learn the business first before you do anything. Because if the business only existed for a year, you can't break anything. But if there is a heritage like the one for us, which was over 40 years, they've been doing something obviously right. And if you just come in, it was like, well, I don't like this, I don't like this. I'm like, you don't even know what you're talking about. You can change the phone number if you like, which would be a bad idea in my place, but you can make small changes. But I would never make major changes to the business just because you don't know what you're actually changing. Learn it first.
Yeah, and that's I'm delighted. What employees, generally speaking, has there been much turnover of employees in the years you've had it?
No, Jeff, who basically started with John, he retired after 40 years, but he's still working for us as a consultant because he likes it. He's now in Tennessee and does it remotely.
Okay.
And then we added. There is always on the shop side. Because we hire younger kids that we like to train, and sometimes they just realize that's just not for me. So the employee turnover is more like it doesn't work.
Right.
But as far as that we had to get rid of long-term employees, no, on the contrary, everybody is still there.
Okay. Oh, that's good. That's marvelous. Yeah. That's one thing I really I felt when I first met John, and then we subsequently, it was very much a family organization.
Yeah, I had a hard time getting in. They were like, we don't know if we like you.
Yeah, who are you?
Like, come on, it's been 3 years.
And any other issues? Obviously, personnel is one thing, but any other issues that you've found? Has the market continued to be good and healthy? And
Florida is a unique economy, and now looking into the manufacturing side, because our business allows us a behind the curtain view, if you will, of what Florida really is, and it's full blown manufacturing industrial applications where you would not even expect. When you ask people, they're like, well, you have palm trees, you have beaches, you have theme parks. That's Florida, right? Yeah, that's 10%. So our take on the economy is we're still strong. We have grown the company a lot over the last 6 years. We're almost at 100% or double from what the company once was.
Really?
And we need to branch out, so we're looking into opening another branch, whether it's in Florida or outside. We haven't decided.
Ooh, okay.
But we need more manufacturing space, so we're adding on to the existing manufacturing facility, and then we have another 1-point-something acre lot that we bought for a future expansion. So
I should say actually that you didn't just purchase the business from John; he also owned the real estate.
Correct.
And you purchased the real estate
Yes.
as well, and as you say, some additional for future expansion. And are you selling? Are you selling outside of Florida? I think generally John sold in Florida, but you've expanded outside.
We ventured out because there was one thing. If you go because in Central Florida, as the title says, you're pretty much in the center of the state. So you can go to Miami or you can go to Tallahassee. It's about the same amount in distance and travel time. But with the traffic being so horrible going south, it can take you between 5 to 6 hours to drive to Miami. And that time I can go out of the state. And we do have contractors which have only bought from J. Herbert Corporation and continue to only buy from us. And we have gone into Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Missouri, Kentucky, Idaho. So we're basically go wherever we need to go.
Idaho, goodness me. That's
That's
some way away.
My Florida Cracker Boys, they were like, are you kidding me? It's snowing up there. I'm like, yes, I know. Bring a jacket. But it was, I think for us, it's, we're ready to go out of the state. We have not really pursued it 100%, but we're going if we see an opportunity, and if we're competitive, then we'll bid on it. Okay. And if we get it, we'll go.
Okay, all right, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I've been there putting bids together for equipment like this.
Always fun.
Always fun. It's interesting. That's for sure. And so, a little question that sort of comes to mind, and I think this is really important. I'm always insistent. Yeah, I always strongly request that business owners are able to provide financials very, very quickly and easily. I think that by the end of a month, a week after the end of the month, 2 weeks at the very, very most, but preferably a week, then everything should be buttoned up, and I should be able to have those P&Ls and the balance sheet. And I know this is something that is near and dear to your heart as well.
Yes, it is.
You're a numbers guy in the same way that I am. Any comment on that?
I feel that if a seller is really interested in selling the business, if I were to sell, which I'm not, but if I were, I would hire someone like you, and you probably, the first thing you would tell me is, where are your financials? Because you need those. Because whoever looks at the business, they don't understand what the business makes unless they're from the same industry. So all they're looking at, okay, how much do I have to invest and how much do I get out? And I think financials, if with automation these days, if you have a good bookkeeper, you should be able to get them within a few hours, maybe a couple of days. And it shouldn't take that long, because if it takes that long from a buyer's perspective, why is it taking so long? What are you hiding? What's going on here? But with the J. Herbert Corporation, everything was right there, and that was great. And then when we asked for the most up-to-date ones, I think it took you a day or two because you took them from John, then you updated your spreadsheet, and maybe that was why it took you more than a day, but everything was readily available. So it
Yeah,
was
I
great.
think those numbers, that's what sells a business. You know,
Oh, yeah.
that's it. You can't deny it. Obviously, there's all the kit and caboodle and the manufacturing, the machinery and the like. Yours is a very simple. You know, you don't have loads and loads and loads of machinery. That's that was because that's something that like a machine shop, for example.
Oh, yeah.
A machine shop, you've got to invest a lot into the machines, and then they turn out certain rate. We buy a new machine and you get 50,000 widgets in the year versus 25,000. Oh, okay, but we still have to invest. So you don't have that big issue there, do you? I think
No, I mean, everything that we do, I mean, obviously we use our own cranes to move the material, but everything else that we do is basically done by hand.
Right.
So we weld by hand, we buff with hands. So there's no automation.
Right.
It's all, we always joke. So because everything that we do is custom. So even if we wanted to make two at the same, we don't think we could because there is always a small variance.
Okay.
And then on the contrary, we'll also say we're not that good, where we're like, nah, if you measure it, okay, that's a little too far. But they all look great and they're all safe and they're well engineered and well built.
Yeah,
so.
bespoke engineering.
Absolutely,
that's exactly what it is.
I mean, it even shows up on TV every once in a while.
So you've told us that you've essentially doubled the top line, double the sales. That's fantastic, and that you're considering expanding out. That's good stuff. I'm going to say that's a success story, and the employees, generally the employees have stayed with you, which is another mark of success in my opinion. So overall, then, anybody who's considering, first and foremost, because you've done both, you've had several hats on, considering selling a business, and anybody who's considering buying a business, what tips would you give to those two types of people?
I guess for selling, it's a lot easier because all you need to do is find a buyer, and to me, that is a good business broker because you could get lucky and you have an industry friend that wants to expand his business and he's like, well, I'll buy you. But that usually doesn't happen. So from a seller's perspective, find a good business broker such as yourself, because I feel, and I've dealt with a lot, and I think I told you that even in the first 3 or 4 days from talking, I said, I didn't think you could impress me anymore, but every day it's like it keeps getting better. So
how kind of you, thank you.
From a seller, I would say find a good business broker and let him do the magic, and comply with whatever he's asking. From a buyer, I think you need to find what industry interests you the most and where do you want to be, because if it's a small business, like we said earlier, you need to move. So if you find the business that you love, but it's in Alaska and you're like, I really don't want to move there, well, that's probably not where you should go then. But if you're willing to go anywhere, then find the industry, find the business, and make sure the numbers are correct, and then all in.
So I have two separate mottos for buyers and sellers. I say for sellers, prepare. And, I think, well, what does that mean? It's as long, an English phrase, as long as a piece of string. What the hell does that mean? But, that's getting the numbers understood and right. And, what's the balance sheet? Because so many business owners don't really look at the balance sheet too carefully. And it's really critically important. But we can work on all that. We can do all that. As far as buyers are concerned, my phrase is slightly different. And I really mean this: be ready. Yeah. And what does that mean? Well, that means, in my opinion, be ready to strike. Because finding good businesses, there are many hundreds, thousands of businesses around the country that are listed for sale. Finding A, the right one for you, and B, the right one for you that's a good business is tricky. So when you do,
That's a good point. Yeah.
get ready, be there, bang. You know, you've really got to be prepared to strike financially. You know, what's the terms? What am I expecting? What you know, where am I? Where am I going to be? Is it really for me? All that stuff. You've really got to be.
We
Got to be
said
ready.
it before. I think our timeline was a little over 2 months.
Oh, that was quick.
Yeah,
That was
so
very quick.
and in those 2 months, I sold what I had down south and moved up here.
Amazed me, I'll tell you. And of course, let's
Me
just
too.
and let's just talk about financing. So you guys didn't use an SBA 7A, so we'll put that aside. But you did get financing.
Yes.
And again, if normally it's 7A, there was a particular reason why these guys didn't. But you know, whatever it is, make sure that you know all of the details. You know, so again, be ready to strike. You know, you've been through the loop. You know, what that's going to mean to you, what the outgoings are going to be for that.
What helped me, because for my business partner, this is the first business he's ever evaluated, put together with. And that's why I said silent is the better option for you, because there are too many ins and outs that you would not understand. And I wanted this business. And I said, I'll do it with you, without you, but I'll go. I'm going.
Okay.
And I think if you recall, I even had a checklist for you already, because I looked at so many businesses, and, you know, you learn from every one.
Yes.
And be ready is have business broker, have an accountant, have your bank, and have a lawyer. And usually, you know, lawyer is not so much needed for the closing, but if you want documents reviewed, I mean, the good thing is you use the standard business broker contract for us, which was great, because those are pretty much, they're in favor of no one. They're pretty neutral, and they give enough ins and out for either one. And that's important from a buyer's perspective, because you don't want to put money into an escrow and then fight for it for 6 months, because you need that money to buy something else.
No, you don't, indeed. Well, I think you know, in life you've got to be straight. I always feel that. And the one thing I love about our standard asset sale and purchase agreement, which is unique to Florida, it's not the same around the rest of the country, or indeed I suppose the world. But we have our standard, so it can get us to a position where we have an offer on the table that a seller can either accept, reject, or counter.
Correct.
And then let's say we come to agreement, we go into contract, and we can then start due diligence immediately.
When I sold my business, I had buyers basically, I give you a letter of intent. And I said, well, you might as well just give me a handshake, because
that's meaningless.
Unless I know you, it's pretty much meaningless. And for me, I told them the same thing. I said, you know, the contract not only protects you and me, but it also shows me that you're serious, because you're willing to actually put something in front of me that you can cancel if you don't like what I give you, but I can cancel if you're moving too slow, or you're just dragging your feet and you're like, oh yeah, well, I'll figure it out, and I'll figure it out. Because sometimes if you're in a lucky position, you have multiple buyers, multiple offers. And that's what it was for our pool company. We had multiples. And there was one, he just wanted our file. He's like, oh, my accountant needs your file. I said, you're not getting the file. I mean, I might as well just, what else you want? The keys, wallets, I mean, what else? So I like that agreement, and the fact that, I think that was one of the first questions I had for you. I said, so how do we get an offer? And you said, well, I have this contract. I was like, check, moving on.
Yeah, we're very fortunate in Florida to have that. A lot of people have put a lot of effort into that over the years in business brokers of Florida. Well, I think we're sort of coming to the end, and you know, I really appreciate you being here, Peter.
My pleasure.
It is, you know, if I look back on my favorite deals, this is right up there. And,
sure,
you know,
it is.
If it's not number one, it's number two. No, it really is. It's great, and so nice to hear of the success that you've had in the. So it's it was August, wasn't it? 5.5 years. So we met in June.
We did,
and we closed in August.
Yeah, we did.
Oh, let's repeat that. We met in June and we closed in August.
What about
that?
John was ready. We were ready.
Yeah, and financing as well. Those guys can be slow. So,
the good part was, and that closes the loop where I said, you know, have the people that you need in your network, because we had a strong relationship with Regions Bank, and I knew the people, and I said, look, I'm looking, and what I'm looking to finance is not the business. I'm looking to finance the real estate that comes with it, and potentially some of the equipment.
Right.
And the way they structured it, they used the equipment, but they called it like a business loan because the rates were better at the time. But ultimately, they knew what it was. And the minute I knew I wanted J. Herbert Corporation, I shared all the financials. I called you and I said, look, is it okay to share it with the bank? And you said, yes, absolutely. And they got the process going, because otherwise I think we would have struggled to meet that deadline.
Yeah, just by the way, I'll say that for people who are listening, when an interested party, when a buyer signs a non-disclosure agreement, they are signing that on behalf of themselves and any advisors that they may have. So we're okay to do that. On occasion, people, a seller might say to me, look, I want everybody to sign a separate note. I've had that, but but generally speaking, that's the way that it's structured. That's right.
It's good to know. I wanted to make sure, because I wasn't sure how diligent, the whole thing was, or how tightly knit it was. I'm like, it's only a phone call. And that was another thing. You were always very responsive. Even if you couldn't answer the phone, you texted me and said, I'll call you back in 30 minutes. And sure enough. Yeah. So it was.
Well, I tend not to handle too many deals at any one time. That's always
important.
been my philosophy. So, I know who I'm talking to and I know who I'm dealing with. And I tend to be, if other than if I'm watching a soccer game, obviously
I've learned
that comes
first. I was watching again. Oh, okay.
There he is. Yeah.
2 hours later.
Well, as always, it's a great pleasure to see you, Peter.
Same
really
here.
I really appreciate you coming.
Definitely stay in touch.
Oh, well, we've got to have our 6 monthly lunch, haven't we?
Yes, we do. We're past due, actually.
Yeah,
we're overdue.
We are overdue. That's right. Once again, I really appreciate it.
Pleasure,
Thank you
Shaun.
very much. Peter.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
It's been great.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Well, that's it for this episode. Thanks for listening to Happy Buyer, Happy Seller. The sad truth is only 15% of businesses listed for sale actually sell. Hopefully this episode removed some of the stumbling blocks to sale and highlighted the ways in which barriers can be overcome. If you're a business owner thinking about selling or a buyer considering your next step, I'm always here to chat and help you think through your options. So, to learn more or access additional resources, then reach out to me directly at www.happybuyerhappyseller.com. Don't worry if you're not ready to make a move yet. An early conversation can make a real difference down the road. And if you found this episode helpful, please subscribe to the podcast and share it with someone who may be considering selling or buying a business. Until next time, I'm Shaun Thornton, helping create happy buyers and happy sellers. Cheerio.